What is going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome to the Bleed Blue Nightly Show. I'm Paul. Nice to have you. We are waiting. We're on. Sorry, Rowland just. I saw him pop in, then popped out. I literally was about to hit live on it. So he probably walked in and was like, "Oh, no one's there." I'm all joined by Jaden and Joe. Welcome to another episode. We're really excited to have you. Also excited to have Justin Rowland, who will jump on here any second. Guys, how's it going? Are you? Well, he's here right now, so we'll just bring him in. We'll bring in Justin Rowland right now. So there you go. What's going on, guys? Justin, how are you?
Not a lot, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to do it. Should be a good conversation.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Let me see if I can make this to where everybody's the same size. I don't know if I can do that or not, but we'll see. There we go. Look at that. That's so much better. I'm gonna play with it. I'm gonna play with it for a minute and see what I can. There we go. Now we're good. Everybody looks way better in this scenario. No, thank you for jumping on. I know you and Joe have been talking for a while, so I'll kick it over to Joe and let Joe kind of fire away to start this shindig.
Yeah. Well, Justin, thanks again for joining. I know you're super busy, so appreciate you taking the time. I mean, let's get in it. It's crazy. Some Kentucky fans want to hear some news. So, like, what all you've been hearing on the transfer portal? What kind of news you want to share tonight with us?
I mean, I think dominoes are going to start falling soon, and I think you've done a good job of reporting on who's visiting and who they're in good shape with. The names, I think, are pretty similar to what we've heard, so kudos on that. And, they got to do a couple things. They got to get a couple offensive linemen in quickly to feel like you've got any chance of being decent next year. And because you're going to need 3 or 4, you got to get a couple in quickly. You can't bank on them being available later. And then you got to make a decision on quarterback. Like, who is it going to be, and how quickly can you confidently communicate that to all the receivers that you're recruiting that are going to be coming in to visit, and how you can even communicate that to the receivers coach that you're bringing in, because whatever receivers coach you're bringing in is probably thinking, okay, this is a big year for Stoops. Are they set up to make my room look good? So get a quarterback and get a couple offensive linemen, and the ball will be rolling.
We've I'm sure you're in the same boat of hearing like some names flashing around, but nothing's to the point where you want to put it out just yet, because you just said, right, especially with quarterback seems like it's the position that is the most tightly held to the vest right now. Obviously, we've got Cutter Boley. You would expect this team to go after a guy that's probably only here for a year. I don't think that's changed with him being the future. Is that also kind of what you're suspecting Kentucky's looking at from the quarterback position?
I think so. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's I think you're recruiting somebody to be your starting quarterback, and that's not a knock on Cutter. Like, I think Cutter could have a great offseason, and he could be the guy next year. But just to cover your bases as an insurance policy going into the season, you got to have a guy that you're confident can be your starter, and preferably that's somebody who has starting experience, and preferably somebody who's had some Division I FBS experience. So we've heard some names. I know Calzada, who had been at Auburn and Texas A&M's at Incarnate Word now, is a possibility, and a couple more quarterbacks on the West Coast that haven't gone into the portal yet to my knowledge, but it makes sense that Hamden would be looking at guys out west. So that's where that stands. I think you want somebody who can run some. It doesn't have to be like a total dual threat, but somebody who can run some, extend the play with his legs, and somebody who's proven. Those would be the catchwords.
So when you think about the turnover, I mean, obviously, I think Kentucky will have a few more guys that enter the portal in the coming days, but about a set number of what the staff is looking at bringing in on the offensive side, defensive side? Like, what's that number look like for you?
Just go down the list. I mean, I think they're going to bring in a quarterback. I think they have to bring in a running back. I think they've got to bring in at least 2 receivers, maybe 3 receivers. I think they got to bring in 3 or 4 offensive linemen. So, I mean, you could be looking at and a tight end or two. I mean, you could be looking at close to 10 transfers on the offensive side of the ball alone. And then you get a couple guys back on the defensive line, which helps, but decimated on the defensive line, decimated at linebacker. They're clearly looking for a cornerback. Pretty much every position on the roster is going to be addressed with one or multiple players from the transfer portal. And, you know, you're not just recruiting starters, you're recruiting second line depth pieces in some cases. That's why losing Keyshawn Silver is in my mind kind of a killer. I mean, whatever you think about him as a player, you already knew you had to replace probably 10 to 12 starters in the transfer portal, and that's just another that you didn't need to have to replace because their NIL situation might be and probably is improved, but they're going to be cutting the pie a lot more ways than a lot of other teams are because they have so many needs.
Are you surprised with the money that, because I've heard some numbers on Silver? Are you surprised by that? Because I mean, obviously, like the kid who was a 5-star, he's not lit the world on fire here. He's not been a bad player. We'd have loved to keep him, but are you surprised by the numbers you're seeing other schools kind of throw around at him?
Yeah, and I think some of that is a function of those schools mostly don't have as many holes to fill. So if you're just saying going into an off season, we got 3 or 4 spots we got to fill, you can make some high dollar, you can make some aggressive offers. But if you got 12, 14 spots you got to fill, then that's gonna impact you. But I mean, the big thing for him is if you can get a guy that you feel like can proven run stopper in the SEC, and he's an anchor, and he's big, and he's got the prospect pedigree, and his endurance has improved, his durability, he's in better shape than he answered some of the questions that he had following him at North Carolina. There's a lot of teams out there like as an insurance policy, bam, let's stick this guy in the middle with the edge guys we've got, with the defense that we've got, and he's going to complete us. So I think it's more about being the right fit than anything because he didn't play at an All-American level at Kentucky. It's very similar to Justin Rogers in that I think they would have liked him to stay, but they got to think about a lot of guys with NIL.
Defensive tackle is probably the hardest position as well to find in the portal. It's I mean, you see every team scrambles for defensive tackle. I mean, we did it last year, and we had a dude that we thought was a top 10 pick, and we scrambled like crazy to find another defensive tackle in the spring, and they ended up with a D2 guy that never played and an offensive lineman at defensive lineman. So everyone in the country needs more defensive tackles, and there are not a lot of them with his size that are productive. And so every school is going to throw major dollars at somebody like that.
Agreed.
I mean, you've got the only other guy in the portal right now, I think, is the Texas kid, and he's not played a lot.
Huge. He is humongous.
He's a house. Justin, I'm in. You know, I'm sure you are. You know, you are too, right? Like in some group chats and stuff around, and I know if you're in with fans that there's not a whole lot of positivity right now. Obviously, you know, it's hard to be positive also when you don't see the roster. You see the schedule. Knowing what you know, knowing what we know, just kind of like the guys that are in the orbit. I think that this team could be very competitive. I mean, very competitive, could be 7-5 with the schedule next year. But do you get that same sense that this Kentucky team can be massively improved with the players that they're looking at bringing in next year?
I mean, maybe. I feel like Kentucky fans tend to like romance that 9-3 regular season. Like they want to think they're right there on the cusp, and it took a lot to get there. And now the schedule's harder, the league's harder, and they have so many questions to answer. So I just kind of felt like if I were Mark Stoops, I would not be trying to build the perfect team this offseason. I wouldn't be. I would almost concede that certain areas might be weaknesses as long as you double down on what you do well, what makes you the best version of you as a coach. And for Stoops, that's an offensive line that lets you run the ball, control the clock, and sit on a lead when you've got it, and just being able to run the ball. And so just given the scale of changes they have to make, given how many starters they got to bring in, given how much uncertainty there is, it's hard for – I think it's one of the 2 or 3 worst situations in the SEC going into next season, right? Mississippi State, obvious. Vanderbilt, because it's Vanderbilt. And who else are you going to put as in a worse spot than Kentucky right now? It's got to be them. So they have to make a lot of good moves, and they don't have much margin for error.
No, I agree with that.
Going after those run blockers, though. They are going all in on pass blockers in the portal. Every single one of them is a pass blocking specialist.
Well, Eric Wolford has taken a lot of crap from the fan base. And, I'm not going to defend every aspect of that. But when Nick Saban hires you to fix a position room, it stands to reason that, it's probably not a terrible decision for Kentucky to do the same thing. They gave up about 45 sacks the season before he got to Alabama, and they gave up 22 the next season. They had the worst rushing attack of the Nick Saban era the year before he got to Alabama, and they gradually improved, got some of a physical identity. It's just not a quick fix, but you're right.
Yeah.
Length, athleticism, and proven starting experience, I think, are a premium for what they're looking for. But everybody else has got too. Yeah.
I mean, here's the other thing, and I think you understand this. There's a world where Kentucky could go 6-6 next season, and the fan base is happy because you played Texas 38-33, right? You played Tennessee 42-38, something like that, right? And maybe I'm inflating, but the fact that we didn't score more than two offensive touchdowns against an SEC team, that's the thing where I think people. It's not that we lost; it's the fact that it was. You played Tennessee, Ole Miss, Georgia, and Texas basically to the wire for the most part, and you couldn't score. And if you could have just had a little bit more oomph, you win, and the season's different. I think that what you're seeing is that premium. They got to throw the ball. They know they have to be better because that also opens up. The one thing Kentucky's had in those premium run games is what? They've had a deep threat and a guy that can get the ball downfield. And if they have that deep threat, then they pound, then they hit you with an explosive, right? That was the thing this team did. They could pound, but then they'd have to dink and dunk to get yards, and it really wasn't effective.
You just couldn't protect long enough to allow for a lot of those throws to develop. I mean, you really think about how many times Jamori Macklin was targeted. Jamori Macklin and Berrien Brown should have been one of the deep duos that you look at in the SEC, and they just didn't get opportunities in the vertical game. They didn't even take the shots in the vertical game. It's a totally wasted year in terms of the vertical passing game. And so that's why I'm okay with Macklin coming back, even if he's your number one, even if you don't bring in somebody who's going to get more targets than him. I still like him as a player. I don't hold what happened this year against him as a player. I think that was an operational issue. The concerning thing for me is that I don't think they came into this year with a great plan. They talked about how the running back room was possibly their weakness. They knew they had a first-year quarterback who had never started before. They knew the offensive line had been bad 2 years running, and they relied on what I frankly think were some lazy evaluations based on where those guys had been before. You go down the list for offensive coordinator in a new spot. In hindsight, there was no reason to be optimistic about the offense last year. And then you come in and see the non-plan of throwing Gavin Wimsatt in every 8 plays or so and not letting him pass. And it didn't feel like they had any idea what their bread and butter was going to be coming into the season. And those are the guys that are planning. They're planning how to build an offense with maybe 6 new starters next year. So you better hope they know what they're doing because they got a lot of work to do.
It could be 11 new starters.
What's that?
It could be 11 new starters on offense, and it maybe
should. I mean, it could be a lot. Yeah, you think about it.
You could have 4 new start. You could have 4 new starting offensive linemen. So there's 4. A new quarterback, that's 5. You're gonna probably they'll probably bring in a wide receiver. So that's 6, right? I don't think you're going to get to 11.
Everybody a running back. I mean, they didn't trust Jamarian Wilcox to log more than 23 snaps in any game this season. And that was in spite of the fact that they knew Demi Sumo-Kongbe was not going to produce one explosive run. So, and that for an offense,
he didn't block. He didn't know the plays and he couldn't block.
Right. So you can't count on him to be your running back 1 going into the season. If you didn't trust him to execute the playbook consistently at a starter's level this year, you can't just assume he's going to do it next year. You got to bring in another guy who could. So I like Ahmad Hardy, the guy that was visiting Ole Miss. I don't know what the status of that is, but running back shouldn't be the biggest concern. They'll find a running back. It's other positions I would be more worried about.
Yeah. Do you agree? And we've said this a lot, and I'm curious to get your opinion. We say this all the time. People need to relax about running back and wide receiver. It is the 2 easiest commodities in the transfer portal to go get. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. And at Kentucky, I mean, under Mark Stoops, how much receiver talent has been wasted. I mean, it's not like Ole Miss receiver talent, but you don't want to go into the season with Stoops thinking that receiver is our strength. We're going to be good because of these receivers, because it just hasn't come to fruition. that much. I don't think that the offense would have been substantially worse this year if the top three receivers were Hardly Gilmore, Fred Ferrier, and Anthony Brown-Stevens, as opposed to Barryon, Dane, and Macklin. Really, like, how much worse would the offense have been? I think it's about the other things getting in place and in line more so than that. Then you can worry about the receivers.
How do you feel about the defensive side of the ball? I know we're bringing in a lot of guys for edge and linebacker. I think that you feel the secondary's got talent, right, with Nichols, Waller, JQ Hardaway. Safety, maybe you want to see a guy come in. I've heard some rumors about maybe Alex Safari moving more into the Zion Childress role that he played because he's kind of got that hybrid. Do you feel a lot more confident about where Kentucky stands on the defensive side of the ball?
Yes. But I will say that I think most fans are looking at next year and they're worried about the offense, understandably, because that was terrible and they've got so much uncertainty there, and it's been a struggle under students. Terrible. The defense has a lot of questions too, but I think there's good reason for people to have more trust in Brad White's ability to identify and evaluate players that fit into his scheme. I think he's just done a better job of that than I think the offense has. So I would have a lot more confidence in saying, okay, the defense has a lot of questions, but it should be a solid defense. I think we can get a solid defense. Whereas the offense, you don't know if it's going to be terrible or mediocre or decent or pretty good. I mean, there's much more range of outcomes for the offense.
Yeah.
But they do need a lot of guys on defense too. And that's where losing backup linebackers like Fearbury and Noah Matthews. I mean, I think Fearbury is a big disappointment in hindsight. Like, he was always very highly regarded as a prospect, really good length, really good athleticism, had that burst that made you dream on him as a pass rusher. And for him never to emerge as a starter and then to leave when he should be sliding up into a starting role, in my view, big picture is almost as big a loss as Keyshawn Silver. Like, you shouldn't have to replace that spot. He was supposed to be a starter. So
it looked like the 2022 class almost had a little bit of a purge as well, right?
Yeah.
You know, people were talking about the locker room and all this stuff with Stoops and, you know, with accountability and discipline and everything. And the other thing that we've said is the best way to do that, a lot of those guys out, bring a lot of more high character guys with talent in, you reset, right? Do you get a sense of that too? Maybe with some of those guys like Fearbury, where, you know, we don't know this, where it's hypothetical, but maybe they weren't as on board or easy, you know, maybe they weren't great locker room guys and they would rather bring in somebody with less talent, but more work ethics so that nothing spreads through the team next year.
Could be. I mean, culture is tough. It's tough in the portal era. I don't think that the culture ever got as bad as it was before Stoops or early in the Stoops era. But when Cutter was talking about like the young, especially the young guys, are excited and have good attitudes. When he makes a comment like that, it kind of is reminiscent of like that 2014 class that came in with all those stars, and there was just a leadership void. There was no leadership in the program when those guys came in, and that was one of the reasons I think that class didn't pan out, reach its potential. There's a leadership void, vacuum, and they saw that. So they didn't have obvious leaders this year, and now even if you think you've got a leader, you got to realize in a lot of cases this guy's there to play for money. I just think leadership should definitely be in focus. And I think they are prioritizing that in the guys they're recruiting. I think they've mostly recruited high character, strong academic kids. So that's a smart move.
Well, I know we got to let you go here in a minute, so we'll let Joe kind of close it out and let you go.
Well, everybody knows I love basketball. I know you don't follow basketball as closely, but is there anything around Caleb Wilson that you've heard? Maybe some of your team members have. I know I've had some recruiting updates, but are you hearing anything differently around him?
If I'm going to be completely honest, I'll get in trouble with these guys. We got a group chat for our site, and those guys are texting about basketball recruiting, and I'm like purposely not paying any attention to it because there's too much football to keep up with, and it's just going to distract me. So Caleb Wilson, I think David just thinks that Kentucky has a good shot with him, or has for a while, but to be honest, I don't know the latest on it.
Well, we'll let you go. We know you got your hands full. You got a lot of kids. So do I. All three of my kids just had RSV this week, so that was super fun.
That's brutal, yeah.
We're on the other side of it now, so you know how that is. But Justin, we really appreciate you taking time to jump on with us, and maybe we'll be able to get you again before the crazy season ends.
Totally, it was a lot of fun. Thanks a lot. I'd love to do it again, guys. You guys
Appreciate
have a good
it,
night.
man. Thank you.
See you, Justin. Thanks.
All right, take care.
This is Justin Rowland. That was a good chat. That was good.
It looks like Malachi Wood was all SEC freshman team, so congrats to him.
Yeah, that one was odd to me. I didn't think that there was a ton of hype around him.
There's only so many freshman offensive tackles playing in the SEC.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. Are all of you guys a little shocked seeing the Bill Belichick pictures? Like, can your mind fabricate what is going on, right? Like, could you imagine if someone would have put a $20 bet that Bill Belichick would coach college football at some point in his career? What do you think that bet would have done? And Joe just
millionaire.
I'm sure Joe would have. I'm sure Joe's talking to someone, so that was good. So I'm sure there's fun there. There he is. He's back.
Yeah, the Belichick.
Joe, I really hope that you got a good text or something there that you jumped
Got a
off.
call.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Anybody good?
Linebacker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You got news or no?
No, not yet. He said give him an hour.
Oh, okay. Well, if he
I
wants
don't know why
to
he called it. I know I was trying to get him on here. That was what I was trying to do.
All right. Well, maybe. I mean, if
we
he
have
wants
an
to be
hour
around
of
an
things
hour.
to talk about.
I mean, we have an hour of things to talk about. All right, let's talk about let's talk about basketball right now. Let's talk about basketball right now. Game last night was maybe one of the most Jekyll and Hyde. What the hell is going on? I want to punch myself. I want in the groin and gouge my eyes out. Thank God. Oh my God, we're playing good. Why can't we finish this game? Oh, it's over. I don't know if I should be angry or happy or I should just go to bed. That game had so many weird emotions. Were you guys feeling that too? And like, there was never a time where I was like losing it. I was just kind of just like, come on, like, really, are we doing this tonight for real? I never thought we would lose, but then it was kind of, I thought we were going to win by 50 and then we win by 9. And I'm like, man, something's not right here.
Yeah.
We didn't win by 9, right? Was it 9 or 11?
11.
Okay. I didn't even give a shit. After, I didn't even pay attention. It was just so annoying.
Yeah. I mean, at the start of the game, we're up 17-0 and we're in the chat talking about, holy cow, this is crazy. And then we all just went quiet because I think we didn't know what just happened. They went on a huge run. I mean, like you said, the emotion was high and low. I made myself an agreement that I wasn't going to get on X last night and tweet during the game, which was very hard to do when I was watching that basketball. Thank goodness Brea was on fire from 3. I mean, there was a couple times he hit some big shots. Started second half, Jackson Robinson hit it back-to-back threes that kind of ballooned it back up to like 9, and then it kind of went back and forth for a little bit. But yeah, I don't even know what to think. I thought Trent Noah played pretty well. I mean, honestly, he looked better than Colin or Perry has when they've been playing. So it'll be interesting to see if they use Noah on Saturday at all. But yeah, I think it's more one of those where they were just preparing for Louisville and maybe overlooked Colgate. But yeah, it was an interesting game to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, after watching the game, it was like I felt like it was a movie for parts of it. It was like, why are they like doing these things? What is happening? But it felt real. Like it never felt threatening, even when they were winning in the second half. It was like, why? Like what are we doing here? And then
why is this happening? And why
did you all decide to do that? Like what are we doing?
Colgate ended up finishing with 11 3-pointers. They were 11 to 33, but I think they started something like 0 of 9 or something. So when they hit, it felt like a flood because of it. Like they had missed so many to start, and then they just hit. I don't know. I think the one thing we found out is we need Lamont Butler really bad because this team does not function well without a point guard.
No.
Yeah, they certainly need Lamont. How about him playing Saturday?
We will find out more tomorrow with the Pope press conference tomorrow afternoon. So that will probably be, I have a feeling that will be one of the first questions. Whoever anticipates Pope stopping talking the best tomorrow will probably get that question first. It probably won't be me. I'm just gonna let you know. I never can anticipate that. I got to get the rhythm of the press conference still before I mean, this is only my 4th Pope press conference, so I still haven't felt him out yet.
He's on.
I'm more of a self.
Dude, by the way, Joe, in the the portal, whatever, not portal, the signing day press conference we have, out of the blue next to me, I have Jaden just ask a question out of nowhere. Like, I look at him like cross-eyed. Stoops looks at him like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, no idea who that was. I've been to 3 or 4. I've never asked him a question, and he looked at me like I had 2 heads.
It was a good question, though. I mean, you could tell he nodded. He was like, all right, that's a good question. But, oh, my God.
That's awesome.
Definitely threw everybody off. Yeah, when I asked Ainsley and BG some questions yesterday, and the people that were there kind of like looked back like, who is that voice? What is going on? So I was like, yeah. I mean, here.
Man,
one question.
I think Butler's definitely going to play on Saturday. I mean, from what we had heard, he could have played yesterday, but why risk it? Worst case,
30-point favorites.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're not getting anything out of it, and we're in need of. I mean, Hepburn is no joke. Dude's one of the top point guards in the country. He looked good again last night. So, I mean, obviously Louisville didn't look very good last night. They almost lost to UTEP, but I think we'll be 7-8 point favorites at home, and hopefully it was one of those where we're just looking ahead. And I'm excited for the game, and I just got actually a text from the owners at Harry's. They don't think there's going to be any tables available because they're getting so many calls. It might be the biggest show that we ever have on our pregame show and live. But if you want to come on the riverside of Jeffersonville, Indiana, it's going to be an exciting game.
I meant to text you about something about that, but we can talk once we hit end. We can stay on here and kind of chat about that. Do you think that we are in a little bit of a pickle at point guard right now with Kerr being out for so long? I mean, Kerr's not going to be back to what, February at the earliest? I don't know what Pope said. Pope said, some said what, like 6 weeks. I said 10 days. We'll see what happens. I'm like, I don't know about 10 days.
That injury is minimum 6 weeks, and then you have to get your stamina back up, which takes a week or two.
He got the surgery, though, so it's quicker.
Yeah.
Normally you don't get the surgery.
He did get the surgery, so it can be faster. But hey, look, I'm not worried about stamina, right? Like, guys like that at that age can come in and spell 5 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes. As long as we have a healthy Lamont, we're good, right? We're good.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I'm not worried about Kerr's energy.
I'm not worried about Kerr's energy. If Kerr can give you 10, 12 minutes in the game, that's what we need, right? I'm not worried about that, but we need that because I think, especially in SEC season, I think this offense has shown. Look, we did come back without a point guard when we were 16 down at the half, and we beat Gonzaga. The thing there is, I think, also what played in is Gonzaga didn't expect us to play that way, and that kind of also helped a little bit, right? Like, there was a little bit of helter-skelter to our play. You can scout that a lot easier now, right? You see it 4 or 5 games. I think we have to have a point guard. A lot of people were high and expected Travis Perry to come in. He doesn't look like he knows what he's doing on the floor right now. Like, he looks like a walk-on right now, which is shocking. I mean, his shot doesn't even look good, and all we heard was, he's a sniper. What do you think's going on? Do you think it's just like he's over? It's in his head. He's a Kentucky kid. It's too much like that. I'm not saying I don't think he's going to be a good player for us, like down the road. I think he probably will be. But right now, do you think it's a lot of just mental just block right now that's getting in his head?
Yeah, I mean, the game is a lot faster when you're in high school compared to, D1's 10 times. The speed, the strength of the players. I mean, he's playing grown men because of COVID years and extra years of eligibility. I mean, Ziegler's been in college for 10 years. And so he's just playing different animals. And not only that, he's playing in front of a sold out crowd of 20,000 plus, yelling, having his back. And I think so maybe some of the nerves and, the added pressure of being a Kentucky boy, like you said, may be getting to him. And so I think he just needs to kind of get back to the basics and just do the small things and get some time. Don't worry about scoring. Just, get assists, things like that. And then it'll come back. I mean, he is a hell of a shooter. He's all-time leading scorer in Kentucky high school basketball. So he knows how to put points up.
Got a couple things that Shane had asked about Caleb Wilson. I think we answered that one already a little bit, right? State Line Co. says basketball, we are back in all caps, which I agree with. And then Shane also says, you guys do an awesome job. I hope Butler plays because we'll need him. Perry looks like he's lost. I agree, and thank you for that as well.
Yeah, thank you, Shane. Perry is incredibly unlucky that he has to be 1 year younger than Reed Shepherd. Because everyone expected him to be Reed Shepherd, and he is a normal freshman from a small school, like 3-star freshman. Like, he will be okay in 2 years, but like he was very unlucky to be right after Reed because Reed was so underrated, but he's not Reed. Like, it's just not physical makeup yet, and that's okay. That's what he was supposed to be. I think people just got excited that Reed jumped out and was so good immediately, so they wanted the same.
Yeah, I agree. I think that look, being a Kentucky kid, I think there's just pressure. I think Noah fits, I think, a little bit different role, right? Like, he's not the all-time leading scorer and state champion, like Mr. Basketball, those things. So I think, do what?
He was like third and runner-up to Mr. Basketball, but he's physically more advanced, and you can see it when they try to drive and they get bumped. Like, it hits Travis a little bit differently than it hits Trent Noah, but like it should. He's a 3-star freshman.
Have you ever seen the paper books where you put your hands up and you scatter it and you slowly see the images coming across? Jaden, it might just be on my side, but man, it looks like you're the paper book right now. Like, you're in slow motion, moving.
His internet is lagging.
I know, it's throwing me off.
I think I need a computer reset on this one. I think you know what? Tomorrow we'll be back. We'll be very
all right. It just distracted. It looks like a paper book. I'm like,
he's just like, he looks like Jaden looks like he's Jaden looks like he's on Windows 95 right now. All right.
I mean, with this thing, I might be. Who knows where I'm at? This might be the only way I got the microphone to work. I had to reset my computer.
The microphone's not even working right now, buddy. Tap the mic. Tap it. Yeah, the mic ain't working, bro. Bro, you might want to just do it right now. Like, you might want to do that and then come right back and join us or jump on your phone because I'm old enough to think. I mean, your mouth just disappeared. Yeah, there you go. Get off the screen, bro.
It was throwing me off, man.
Dude, when Rowland was sitting there talking, and then it'd just be like, what?
I know. I was like, damn it.
Oh, I think he tried to just jump back in. I was like, no, go refresh your computer. Oh my gosh, this is
that's funny.
This is funny. He's already trying to get back in. Let's see what happens.
There's no way he restarted. Oh, way better.
Gosh, look how clear he is.
Holy cow.
Oh my gosh.
You should have started with that.
What'd you do? Get on your phone?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, now he's just.
Oh, that's great. Well, I think we got a good clip.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm checking. I thought I got an interesting DM.
Man, that's funny.
Oh gosh, did I actually get it? Man, I gotta tell you, it's interesting doing this for the first time. Like this, this, especially the